used to that. And the thing is, though, that sound does travel. I have said that I live, I don't know, many hundred feet away from Carrington and the clubhouse out there, and you can go outside and hear that. And I'm pretty far away from that. So,
well, how did the West Haven clubhouses get away with having parties?
Yeah, they're pretty loud.
I mean, I guess, you know, that's what.
Well, music is pretty loud there at times.
I guess that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Which is not the same thing as being imposed upon you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to we're going to modify our schedule just a little bit. We're going to do 26, 27, 28, 30, and 31, and the rest will be put off till the next work session.
26, 27, 28,
30 and 31. So
we're skipping 29?
we're going to skip 29. Can you believe
A
it?
lot easier.
That's ours, so we can skip it on.
Number 26, consideration of ordinance 2012-25, an ordinance to rezone 72.91 acres from agricultural and medium residential to residential variety for the properties located south of Cloverclough Road and southeast of Market Street.
And this is a request for a rezoning from ag to RX and from R2 to RX. There's two lots in this particular project. It will support, when the rezoning takes place, 153 single-family units. And they're asking for a rezoning to RX.
The one that's going from ag, that's the smaller parcel.
That is the smaller parcel.
That's the smaller parcel. The current larger parcel is currently zoned
R2.
R2.
Yes, and it would go to RX as well.
Because it was zoned residential before.
That is correct.
And so they're not changing that just to that one designation, but it's still residential.
Yes.
But that other smaller parcel was the one that was purchased to add into that.
Right, and that added a number of different single-family units as an expansion of the originally approved project.
Right, okay.
And this came out of Plan Commission with a 4-2 vote.
It was. It says here for 5-1, but it was 4-2.
Yes.
Is it 14?
Yes, it was.
Is it Reunion or Amelia Park?
Same thing.
It's the same thing. It's just a new name.
I did not get the memo.
What was the planning commission issue as far as 4-2 is concerned?
It was mostly traffic on Clovercroft and, you know, the accesses of traffic.
And what's the road designated out there now? What's the condition? What's the grade of the road?
That I don't know.
The traffic study was what?
Yes, Gillian Fishbach is in the audience. Gillian, correct me.
And you are?
My name is Marshall Shoemate. I am with ETC Ventures, the owner of the property. Right now, the road classification, I believe, is an A, but in any event, fully developed, this road will still operate as a Class B/C service.
The
Alderman
difficulty
Peterson.
with the road is not only the amount of traffic on there. If you drive out there, and I went out there again today, it's what they call, horizontal curves and vertical curves. In other words, it's curvy, but it also goes up and down hills there. And this particular part has, you know, like, it has a little sign there that says blind driveway, and there's another one that shows, you know, trying to get to the church and things like that. It's not just, I mean, you know, that you can see, the line of sight, I'd say is pretty difficult there. The other thing about this is that right on their, on the border of their property, Clovercroft Road is in the city, right there. But immediately to the east and to the west, Clovercroft Road is still controlled by the county. And it's, it would, you know, one of the comments here from the traffic study is that there would be a recommendation to have a warning signal and change the speed limit in this area because it is not as safe as something where you can just see, for a mile or anything like that.
Change it from what to what?
Well, I guess from 40 to 35 or something like
No,
that.
the blind drive too is not right there in front of the property. The blind drive is down further, the parish pres is right down there, and then after that is over the hill and down is where the blind drive is, not near.
But it's right, it's immediately,
Past it, east of it.
I know, but
it's not in front of it's not anywhere in that property area, but it's past, that property area is here, parish pres is here, and then you go over the hill and there's the blind drive there.
it's adjoining it.
Yeah, but it's not right there. I just want to make that clear, because I drive that 2 or 3 times a week at least. The road is in fairly good shape. I just, if you've even driven over there, I just thought I'd mention that.
Actually, the worst part of it is the city part.
It's-
I'm sorry, the
and-
pavement on the
yeah,
rest of
and
it
the
is
other
better
thing-
than the
Yeah,
city.
that's true. And the other thing is,
But anyway,
I would not be
excuse me.
opposed
Joe,
at
you
some
were paying
point,
attention.
I would not be opposed at some point of annexing in that road, which I think we should, because if we have your development over there eventually, we already have the McKay's Mill and all that area in there, and then we have Villages of Clovercroft. That's all in the city. We might want to look at annexing that road in that area into the city. I think it would be wise to do so.
Do you want to make a comment? Go ahead.
Yes, Gillian Fishbach is standing at the podium, and she can answer any of your questions and address all of the concerns mentioned. I can assure you that the design as submitted, as you see, all sight lines meet all criteria that the city and others have laid forth. And Gillian, if you have further comment, please go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm Gillian Fishbach with Fishbach Transportation Group, and I did prepare the traffic impact study for this project.
A little loud.
We did look at all of the issues that Ms. Peterson brought up, and we had a set of recommendations to mitigate the impact of this project. The very first thing that we looked at is how this project is going to be implementing part of the major thoroughfare plan, which is the extension of Market Street, which is the first piece of a corridor that will contribute to an improvement of the overall transportation network in that area. Also, that little link, even though it doesn't yet extend to 96, provides a very safe way for the traffic generated by this project to get either on Market Street toward Liberty Pike or Clovercroft toward Oxford Glen. Also, as part of this project, they will be, the developer will be widening that portion of Clovercroft Road in front of their project to provide westbound left turn lanes into the project, and that widening will help alleviate some of the curvature on the front edge of the property, the vertical curvature. Also, there will be adequate lighting at both access points, which will help the overall lighting of Clovercroft Road. Also, as Marshall mentioned, we've looked at reducing the speed limit along that segment of Clovercroft to 35 miles per hour, and in advance of the curve that is immediately west of the project site, putting up flashers that just warn motorists of the intersection with Market Street. As Marshall mentioned, adequate sight distance is available at both of those access points.
Any other questions?
So what is the total footage off of the project that you're looking at making improvements on Clovercroft?
I don't know
understand
that
the question?
distance. Do you, the distance of the frontage?
No, Greg, do you? This is Greg Gamble, our land planner.
I'm Greg Gamble. Wanted to mention that the turn lanes will be provided at both entrances, at Market Street and at the secondary project entrance. Those turn lanes will be a total length of, 150 feet apiece?
Yeah.
About 150 feet apiece. So that's the area that will be improved. So probably a total different distance of about 300 feet if you combine the two together.
Okay.
Now, I would like to add as well, I know Alderman Peterson mentioned a blind driveway sign that's now located to the west of the property. Carl Boffman gave me the information on that about 3 weeks ago. He said that he was called by the church and said that they had had some concerns about their members exiting on Sunday mornings.
Yep.
And that Carl immediately started talking and having conversations with the county, that blind driveway sign was installed and the speed was reduced to 30 miles per hour. Since then, Carl said that he was called by the church as a thank you, that they've seen significant improvements in that as a result of the reduction in speed from 40 to 30 miles per hour.
So Clovercroft
that's
is
out there
30
now?
part of it, and 40 part of it then?
Are you going to make yours 35 or 30?
Gillian said it was an advisory number, but it's posted 30 miles per hour because of the
Yeah,
driveways.
they did change that, that's right. I saw that new sign. I didn't see it. Yeah, it's, yeah.
So you won't get a ticket
Until you
for
get down to
driving
Market, then
35,
it's 30.
but it's an advisory to go 30 miles per hour due
Yeah.
to the driveways, site constraints.
Yeah, because you've got.
And again,
that.
those are to the west
Wilson, yeah,
of Amelia Park.
that makes sense.
East of
To the
Amelia
east?
Park.
Yeah,
To the east
right
of
here.
Amelia Park.
East, right.
You see
Number
it right
27,
there.
Mr. Mayor, this is actually the PUD concept plan for Amelia Park, and we've been talking about many of the elements of this plan as part of the rezoning. Again, this was a 5-to-1 vote coming out of Plan Commission. Citizens who did talked about traffic and concerns regarding traffic.
questions?
I just want to say something not specific about this project, but this RX has no density whatsoever on it, and nothing against this particular project, because they're really just going to be, what, 2.2?
2.2.
But the thing is, we need to immediately get something done about our RX zone, because it could be there's no maximum density on it whatsoever, and we need to start on that right away. As I say, your project is really not a problem there, but that needs to be done, that needs to be started on immediately.
Alderman
We're
Blanton.
working on some issues related to that.
Thank you.
Parcel, is the workforce or whatever housing still a part of this? That one parcel in the back?
Yes, because we would receive an increase somewhat in density, and we have funds in lieu for both parkland dedication and affordable housing.
Thank you, sir.
Number 28, consideration resolution 2012-25, a resolution approving a development plan for the Grove at Parish Park PUD subdivision located east of Downs Boulevard.
Okay, this is a development plan for the Grove at Parish Park. It will be 87 dwelling units, and didn't have a lot of comments on it. Affordable housing will be part of this, as will parkland dedication.
Questions? Good answers, Jason. Number 30.
I had one person say that there was concern because there really is not there's not much play area for if the families have children.
They do meet the open space requirements, but the open space requirements don't require play areas per se. They just require a formal area of open space, plantings, gardens, benches, whatever that may be.
People's yards are there.
Alderman Scanner.
So I noticed there was no contribution to parkland, so y'all are qualified parkland under that trail thing that goes along the border? Is that?
That is right. You are correct. It is Downs Boulevard that will have a sidewalk and do some connection.
I've been disappointed in, it seems like all of our developers are taking the contribution way out.
Yeah.
And not, so we may need to revisit this. It's great to have money going aside, put aside for major parks, but if we're a family-oriented community and we don't provide enough space for our kids to play, not in the streets,
If I may, Alderman Skinner, they have been forthcoming to recommend having that, but when we are looking at taking small parcels and making pocket parks, it becomes more expensive for city. But I understand, but we do work with them, with the developers to take a look at that very closely. But we also don't want to duplicate. If we do have pedestrian access, we definitely don't want to duplicate by putting multi-use path if we've got those connections. And so that was the reason why.
Well, can I do a follow-up? Sure. Follow-up on this is not that the city would take the operation of these parks. I think this needs to be built in as part of the, what this property will be responsible for. You know, there are too many stretches where you'll have to go to the end of the street, you know, for your kids to go out there and play, and you know, they're going to play in the street. And nobody makes cul-de-sacs because that's not the functional way that we design them. So you're going to be in a thoroughfare in the street. And again, if we say that we're a family-oriented community and we continue to let people put in this density without providing small parks, and again, not to be operated by the city of Franklin, but to be part of the operation of that PUD or subdivision.
Alderman Berger. Then Alderman.
You know, family-oriented, well, let's quit giving them pocket parks. Let's give them a decent-sized yard for their kids to play in. I was talking to some parents just recently, and they said, you know, some of these pocket parks are really getting ridiculous, because they said, do you think I'm going to let my 4, my 5, my 6-year-old, my 7-year-old to go down the street to play in a pocket park? No, not in this world today. They want their kids in their own yards. They don't want them in the streets, they want them in their own yards. So I can't find an argument with that. I think that we get all happy about these developments where we want green space and we want pocket parks, and we get out of hand with these things sometimes. And I think we ought to be addressing the needs of families that need yards, and they need their children in their own yards where they can keep an eye on their children, not down the street at a pocket park. So I'm going to say my little piece there, because it has been an issue that's been brought up to me the last 2 weeks and about 3 to 4 people. And I hear them, and I agree with them. So I think we ought to not be so concerned about these pocket parks and be more concerned with what kind of development are we giving our families. Thanks.
Well, my comment is 2 things. Number one, I guess we have a small pocket park in Willow Springs that I see being used occasionally. The other is that this development here is within 100 yards of the major soccer complex that's here. This is within 200 yards of Jim Warren Park. It's within 250 yards of the skate center thing over there. So, you know, it's not without parks. The development is driven by what they think they can sell. And if you start putting out half-acre lots, you drive up the price of the house, then you've got a house that's no longer affordable by putting in some kind of requirement or something other, such as this right here. That's my comment. My question is, where are you coming in back to Willow Springs? I mean, where is the entrance to this right here? You have 2, since I didn't, where are they? Where are the entrances to this?
There's 2 entrances. The primary entrance comes into the center of Downs Boulevard, center in the property, and then the secondary entrance is on the southeastern corner, closer to Hardison Hills.
So you're coming in within, well, how far are you from, say, Willow Springs? 200 or 300, a couple hundred yards?
Willow Springs.
This should be Willow Springs right here, should be.
I don't have that dimension with me, but we exceed the requirements for the separation of the intersections.
Yeah.
If I had to give you a rough number,
So Willow Springs would be in there.
probably closer to, these are 50, plus or minus 52-foot wide lots. I would estimate from the intersection of our main entry to Willow Springs is probably 500, 600 feet.
Okay. My overall comment is this. You've got Barclay over there, you've got this project going on, and you've got a large amount of traffic on Downs from 7 till 9, and then probably from 4 to 5:30 or something other like that, you're gonna dump a great deal of traffic on Downs unless we're looking at Downs somewhere or another to do some improvements in that area also, because there are no, let me see, there are no turn lanes in Hardison Hills, there are no turn lanes in the Willow Springs, there is a turn lane into New Hope Academy, there's not a turn lane into Boyd Mill. There are some turn lanes, I guess, down at the development, Reed Hill Commons, down on that end. But we need to be looking at those turn lanes and what we're doing to those things on there when we are looking at this overall. Because you've got Barclay there that's building out this one. Willow Springs is almost built out. Almost, not quite. So, and then a lot of Franklin Green traffic comes through Willow Springs.
If I may speak to that?
Yes.
Parish Park had a previously approved concept plan associated with the plan. If you recall, back in 2008, there was a master plan on here for 52 residential lots and 90,000 square feet of institutional use. Gillian has revised the traffic study from that 2008 study to this current plan. It resulted in a reduction in traffic for AM peak hours of a 68% reduction, and AM is a 68% reduction, and PM peak hour traffic is a 49% reduction. The study that Gillian prepared for us with 87 homes, with the amount of traffic that generates, it did not warrant a turn lane into this community. However, our developer felt that it would be good to have it there with soccer traffic still on the weekend, so there is a left turn lane proposed at the main entrance to the property.
Yes. And I will say that Carl Bachman and our engineers always look at both the traffic study and any extenuating circumstances, so that if there are issues with that, they're aware of it and, working with the applicant.
I'm interested in that 68% reduction, just as a clarification, because if you had a church going there, which was what that 2008 plan was, so you're saying that the church and the 50-something homes versus the 80-something that you're doing now, there's a 68% reduction by going to the 80 homes versus the church. The church is only going to be there on Sunday morning.
Correct. The previously approved plan was in addition to the church, it was a private school for 225 projected students. So the majority of the traffic, well, all of the traffic for the church or the institutional use was going to come from that school and from the offices and administration for the church. The church traffic is not, you're correct, it does not factor into that traffic study numbers.
Yeah.
But even said, with the 87 homes, it didn't warrant any kind of improvements, but we thought it was good to have that left turn lane.
Let's move on to number 30.
Okay.
Consideration of ordinance 2012-29, ordinance to rezone 2.46 acres from high residential to residential variety.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, this is a request for a rezoning. This will support 17 cottage units. It's a new type of new urbanism project that Mr. Goddard is moving forward, and staff recommends your approval. It's a simple rezoning from high residential to RX. RX is needed for the density on this site.
Number 31.
Mr. Mayor, this is the development plan for that same property. Again, 17 units, number of garages that will be given to certain people, and parking near their particular houses. All of the floodplain issues have been taken care of. There will be access to 96 on this property, and that has been approved by TDOT. So staff recommends approval, as did the Plan Commission.
We'll stop there since there's no questions, and we'll reconvene at 25 till 8.